Okay, we'll do this prayer to Manjushri. Lama Dangumbo Jambalian Lan Chanzai Lo Kongi Londin Jinyen Tindral Nidra Nandai Razavin Jinyen Deng Jijin Sijin Nijin Tugar Legbam Zen Kondai Sibi Tsenrara Mari Mintum Dungal Jizrevin Rozo Kanla Puji darze yen lai du ju yang den zon du daren chen du nye mo nye lon le jin cha du ze ma re men ze dong ala nyu gu jin yen chen ze ral den denen da jin sa ju tar zen yen den le zon ja zen tu ve Chödön chödön chönyen jende dale menzen jambe yanla ende omara bazana de 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 Umara 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 bazana de zenden jeje chenra wazre dale demo membar zane kadan denje shonlo dobai lode pobe nawa zandu zo ndezon zonje danje jingo redan jingur janze jada Kadin zonda majiba balo jinji jinjabe jindu dima me bala guera dudude gozum guba jimbe gonen janza jinjab zujiwo Shiva nenzara nonje dudu jinji zunzim baranze duzo Kange shazanda ye mengam gezal zimbe nonda jin zimbe zive zindum barve dukun me gindu zijur Vijay dama kune shiren jiten sumji konja pe tuwan be mongar be shabe tirinda le yenzur shon Ujen zolen be mendom boziren jave namdu ranjin lenjidu Senzo be jen den chon barve pe manju nenda le yenzur shon Gambolo do arian dewa dan tome nyen cholan chijinda chijun ejan no nyen baozo Zalin jen chonan jenda e shon Kanre de garin jinyin be gulo yen den gunjunga ve shazar do nyin bi den zebe be nanjurba Chime vezir jajenda e shon Ridon jamba shunu jinlale gumbelon le bu betir jedul Londo jinzen janzen awanjur Mibam jambi anjenda e shon Kange dala riba loba dan doji tenje menga nalazo Labaza dan wangur shinabe Muji tinjen la menda e shon Namo guru chenyen pa mendunje shetsala kunja ranchun tuje jembe ten Tuje kala ka menda nawa Palden la meja jenda e shon Yende sanje kunda nyanaya Kadin sanje kunle la bigwen Tsawe la meja la zoande Azon duwe lam na che la njur Konda jujur dongi jidena Deje la marjur ba kansa da Tendir dan pechu jinjar bebe Sembar devan tadan dirjeje Namoriyan tamba Laike dan lu dan jinge Dubum tadan meke namdan Dua kunje danam jizambar Tamje ke du susur tujurje Majur doa namka danyam besim jen tamje Namdul tenji dewala name bayan dobar zo Bisanje jingu varim barchela Chine jang gobrasha Dei chedu Dikpa chimbe shunglu, jaze chimbo shiwala, teni jizebe, chanju simbi chirpa lanjuwa, teni tsushindu sene, nyamsu langwar gyuwa nyamda. Samba chanju chodo tu jeba danche de sen caos. Ela kanshi, sembar shawi chu jirimba ndila. First, that we need to generate the awakened mind, but in this way, for the sake of all the motherly sentient being equal to its space, and then lead them to free them from cyclic existence and its cause, and then to lead them to complete enlightenment, regardless, to lead them to complete enlightenment. For that purpose, I'm going to engaging into this meritorious activity of teaching and listening the Mahayana scriptures, the way of Bodhisattva's life. And then in additional, that the conduct while listening Dharma teaching should be prepared in this way, that listen carefully in an excellent way, and then try to implant the meaning as well as the word. So these are the preliminary or the preparations before we begin the actual teaching. And then the actual teaching, this way of Bodhisattva's life, has 10 chapters with the 4 themes. So among the 10 chapters, we already studied 7 of them. At the moment, we are studying 8 chapters. And then among the 4 themes, we complete 2 of them, which is the how to generate bodhisattva and how to receive bodhisattva's power within oneself, and then that how to maintain properly without transgressions, and then if have transgressed it, and how one should repair. And then the third theme is the further, that how one can develop this bodhisattva or the Mahayana spiritual path, and ultimately until what destiny that one should develop. And then the last theme is to dedicate and making aspirations out of this meritorious activity. The 2 of them, the first and second, we already studied, and today we are studying the third one, that further how one can develop this bodhicitta, the ultimately until what destiny that one should improve further. And for that, diligence and meditative concentrations and wisdom. So these are the 3 things that one should develop within one's mind stream in order to develop our bodhicitta. And how to develop the diligence, that we already studied. And then now here at the moment, that how to develop the meditative concentrations within oneself or within one's mind stream. And to do that, first that we need to understand why we need to develop the meditative concentrations within oneself, and how. And the why described it by a few stanzas at the very beginning, and then how, and then for that, and describing, elaborate that first, how to develop this, and then in order to know this detail thoroughly, that one must understand the first, its contraries, which is preventing us to develop within oneself, which is in short the mundane, and means that physically avoiding from crowdedness and mental from distractions. And in short, that's what it is talking about. And then how to how to avoid one's physical from crowdness, and then how to avoid one's mental from distraction. And then that Shantideva was introducing with the object. Actually, what are the things, what are the object that prevent us to avoid our physical from crowdness, and then the mental from distractions. And combining with the object, what's the really thing, the object there that could becomes conditions for our, how to say, becomes conditions to prevent oneself to able to avoid this two contrary of meditative concentrations. And we kind of like a very much elaborated that how to do that all. And still that we are in that process. So last day, yesterday, that we stopped it here, this stanza 81. So the stanza 81, actually that's from stanza 79 and 80, 81, 82 and 83, 84. So those six stanzas, it is talking about the, how to say, avoiding the crave or desire towards objects, towards things, towards materials, wealth, by contemplating upon its faults. So how to contemplate upon its faults? Then Shantideva, within this sixth stanza, and providing four different ways to contemplate upon its fault. And among the four, two yesterday we covered it, that the first one is that it is talking the faults of wealth itself is the pain of gaining. Yes, that's also that when we gathered all this wealth, doesn't come so easily. It comes with the pain. Yeah, we need to sacrifice lots of our energy, time, and sometimes even finance too. We need to expend a lot of them, and time and energy for sure in order to gather that. And then spending time and energy itself is kind of like a pain. Yes, no one wants that. The pain of gaining, and then also pain of keeping, and then pain of losing all. And that contemplating the faults of wealth, craving towards wealth or desire to wealth, it's that. The persons who ever hold desire or craving towards wealth, and definitely going to be occur all these three pain. So here what Shantideva introducing, the pain of gaining, keeping, and losing all of them. So see the endless hardship brought on us by wealth, property or wealth. For those distracted by their love of wealth, there is no chance. And then further, this is pain of gaining, keeping, and losing. It is temporary. It is within one's life. And then for the long-term faults of craving or love of wealth, there is no chance for freedom from the sorrow of existence. That's the long-term faults of holding or clinging or the desire towards wealth, right? So Shantideva led us contemplating upon those faults of craving towards craving to wealth. That's the one thing. And then, so with this one, how providing one skills that how to contemplate upon its fault, and then trying to lay it low or eradicate that craving or clinging or holding the attachment towards wealth. And then the second method that Shantideva provided here is that through this craving, through this clinging or attachment towards wealth, and we work so hard, and we even we ready to gain the we're ready to gain the pain of gaining, pain of keeping, and pain of losing, even though we are ready for it. But that what we are kind of like a exchanging, isn't it? The exchanging, or it's kind of like what we are preparing ourselves to gain some wealth, that what we are gaining by sacrificing all this is actually very incomparable. That what we actually gaining is very little. It is not very worth to undergo all this pain of gaining and pain of keeping and pain of losing within this life, and then pain of remaining forever in cyclic existence. That whatever we have undergo within this life, the difficulties, actually the fact is actually it is considering is the most best, happiest human, happiest being. Even within this most advantage, happiest being has to go all these difficulties, then rest of other beings goes without saying. So even that what we are experiencing at the moment, the difficulty of craving towards wealth, as long as we are in samsara, and this suffering will going to be circle, this also going to be the cyclic existence. As long as we are per se staying firm in the cyclic existence, and all these difficulties will going to be the also cycle. But among the being, in fact, among the being right now, what we are, that having all these faculties properly and having enough wealth to survive, having enough everything, food to eat, and clothes to wear, and place to stay, the shelter to stay, everything. Even we are undergoing some sort of like a difficulties and challenges. If so, if one unable to satisfy by this, then taking something different form and then hoping better than this, forget it. Forget it. Even human being born into this kind of like an area, the circle, community, that is even more advantage and fortunate among the human being, actually. Even among the human being, that one must recognize this right now, what we have, what I have. It is so fortunate comparing with the rest of other beings. But it's still we feel suffer. We feel kind of like not satisfied. We feel kind of like I cannot fulfill my wishes. You see, that is something we are being so mean, mean. This is so mean. You understand? We really need to appreciate. I really need to appreciate myself, what I have, and have to be satisfied and be happy with it. It does not mean that I cannot develop, I cannot improve myself. That doesn't contradicting anything. If I have chance to get developed, yes, obviously take it. If not, stay satisfied and happy with it, comparing with the other beings, right? Even compare with the another human beings. Somehow, believe it or not, very fortunate. Yes, I am very fortunate. I consider this myself. And then you all too, also fortunate that having all this whatever necessity for survive, but it's still we have this pain of gaining, pain of keeping, and pain of losing. Still, it is because of craving towards those gain. It is because of clinging towards wealth. If we do not cling here very kind of like a clear, it is not okay to desire or cling towards wealth. It's not saying you cannot gain the wealth. Clear. Don't mess up this too. Yes, being a human or being a being in general, and particularly in human, for survive, we need certain wealth, which is necessary for our survive, and then which is also very much necessary for our spiritual development too. It's not saying that you are not allowed to gain the wealth. You are not allowed to make a wealth. You are not allowed to kind of like a put little effort to make it proper survive. It's not saying that. This is not contradicting. Never. Some people misunderstand this, right? When this all advice saying, oh, you should give up clinging towards wealth, oh, that means I should not gain any wealth. I should, even what I have, I must throw. It's not mean that. You need to know how to utilize the wealth. And then detach the mental from the wealth. That's what it means. Anyway, so this is now, I think, side topic. But anyhow, even people like us, people like me, still undergoing these difficulties for the temporary within this life because of craving towards wealth. And then long term, I will never going to able to free myself from cyclic existence. Means I have to cycle myself within this existence. Means I have to cycle my difficulties, the pain of gaining and pain of keeping and pain of losing, and then pain of never ever being able to free myself from cyclic existence. See, simple, right? As long as we are unable or fail to lay it low and remove the craving towards wealth, and this is no choice. Now, which means, on the other hand, if I am able to let it go, my craving towards wealth, clinging towards wealth, then I could make myself free from pain of gaining, pain of keeping, pain of losing. for the temporary. And then also I can free myself from cyclic existence, which means I can make it this pain of gain and pain of keeping and pain of losing is final. Never going to cycle now. This is it. Chain is broken. Now, no more cycle. If the bicycle chain broke, then no cycle, right? That's how we need to break the chain. Generally, our emotion is connecting chain, connector. One chain to the another chain, the link. Our emotion is the link. And particularly this desire emotion, attachment emotion is the link. So if we cut this link, then this chain cannot circle. When this chain cannot circle, it has to fall down, right? Just like this, put one thread and then put lots of mala here, and this mala, right? This mala. If this thread cut it from here, then all this mala, 20 or 30 whatsoever here, it's all going to fall down like cannot circle then, because the link is gone, right? Just like that. This emotion, general, particularly this attachment emotion, craving, and especially the wealth, craving, the clinging towards wealth, is the link to make it cycle. But out of this craving, the second method is out of this craving, we work so hard and we sacrifice our time and energy, but what we really gaining is the very little. And how it is little to able to see and experience clearly. And Shantideva using here this very beautiful metaphor that bees, even which even bees can find the full mouth of grass. Beast. Anyway, full mouth of grass. That's the something amazing metaphor, isn't it? Normally we are unable to measure what we are gaining here through all this effort, hardshipness in this worldly activities, right? We spend our time, energy so much, and then out of that we gain something, and then we are unable to measure that what we are gaining is how much. And then Shantideva introducing here, what you gaining is the not more than those beasts gaining by pulling cast. Is it cast? Cut. Pulling cart. Whole day long, hard work. These ox are working so hard whole day long, right? Even if you do not move, right? Bitten by human and let you pull. Working so hard. And what actually ox gain out of this hard work is the full mouth of grass. Just like that, what we are gaining out of this old mundane activity is like that. For us to measure clearly that what we are gaining is actually how much amount, comparing with how much we are putting effort, right? That's much. How much we putting effort, how much we spending for this is actually you only gaining like that little. And then that little is actually also we understood by with the awareness, but still we wanna keep continue. And Shantideva introducing here, it is because of our habit, karma, this pattern pushing us to engage into this activity to gain some wealth. And then this is the second one. Second one is the second way of contemplating upon faults of the craving towards wealth is the understanding the amount what actually we are gaining out of this effort. It's little. To let us understand it is not something worth that which we normally assume it is so worth. The fact actually it is not worth. That's how Shantideva want us to contemplate upon it and then to a little bit detach from attaching towards wealth. Somehow, directly or indirectly, Shantideva trying to let us detach from attaching towards wealth. And then now from here, the third. Deba ngepar jigyurshi nyala soba tunjeba. Chenbo minchir tukundu tubi tsekchung kanyinba. Dei chewi chachamji tsekji sanje nidrumna deden chanchub chebawe dungal chela chanchub mes. So that's next two stanza goes together. 82 and 83. All that we desire is sure to perish. Right? Perish. On which account we fall to hellish pain. For what amount to very little, we must suffer constant and exhausting weariness. With but a millionth, is it? Yes, millionth part of such a vexation. Enlightenment itself could be attained. Those who crave are pledged far more than those engaged upon the path, yet Buddhahood is not what they attain. Plagued, is it? Plagued. Those who crave are plagued far more than those engaged upon the path, yet Buddhahood is not what they attain. You see. Continuing, right? Shantideva wants us to meditate one after another. First, to understand the faults of craving towards wealth, and then second, to understand even with that craving towards wealth, what we really gaining is actually very little. Now that very little itself is like this. The very little what we gaining out of our hardship, out of our hard effort, that actually what we gaining this little. If this little gaining is remain forever, permanently, then maybe a little bit worth. But that's not. Now Shantideva wants us to contemplate further. Even that little gain, is all that we desire is sure to perish. You see, even that little gain will going to be perish sooner or later, right? And then at the same time, simultaneously, it also does, which is not, what do you call it, on which account we fall to hellish pain. That's also another fault of craving towards wealth. If we remove that craving towards wealth, all these difficulties is naturally fade. But if we are unable to let it go, this craving towards wealth, and then all this falls or the consequences is no other option rather than experiencing it. And for what amount to very little, we must suffer constant and exhausting weariness. Okay, now Shantideva want us to understand. This is like something that what we gaining is something not really great, very little, right? Very little. But for that very little, we must suffer constant and exhausting weariness. And that constant and exhausting weariness, the suffer which we are taking it for, right? Which we are taking it for for the little wealth. Instead, for the little wealth, if we put this little hardship and take it this suffer for the enlightened, with but a millionth part of such a vexation. I don't know what this saying. Vexation is like, when I checked in the dictionary, it is saying like some sort of like a bothering. Okay, that bothering, that hardshipness, if you utilize for enlightened, is it? If you utilize this bothering, if you utilize this suffering, if you utilize this hardshipness, if you utilize this constant exhausting awareness from that one part, from that one portion, hardshipness, exhausting weariness, if you bear it for the sake of enlightenment, right? Enlightenment itself could be attained by this hardshipness, that which normally we are willing to take, and we are doing it every day in our life. Shantideva was saying that what normally we human being putting effort and constantly bearing the difficulties, suffer, exhausting the weariness, from that one part or the even one portion of it, if we are bear for enlightenment, we may already achieve enlightened. But unfortunately, those who crave are plagued for more than those engaged upon the path. Yet Buddhahood is not what they attain. Yeah. For this little gain, the sacrification which we did, bear the suffering which we take it, exhausting the weariness which we accept it, right? All this sacrification, accepting the exhausting and weariness, and taking the difficulties and suffering upon oneself, it just brings more great difficulties to oneself. Yet, all these actions which we put effort, it's nothing. None of this hardship will become the cause of enlightenment. Instead, opposite. None of this hardship has become the cause of enlightenment. You see, that's also one that we can understand. People are assuming training a spiritual path, practicing Dharma makes immediately happy. It's wrong concept. Here, Shantideva today, he is introducing hardshipness is there. But the difference is one hardship is worth and another hardship is worthless. That's the difference. Those bodhisattvas, yeah, they do have hardship. Who's saying they don't have difficult? But the difficulties, what they taking it, what they sacrificing themselves for, it is so worth. And then, on the other hand, the difficulties are occurring or experiencing only when you are training in a spiritual path, when you are practicing Dharma. Then maybe it's okay to, if the oneself engaging into mundane does not have any difficulties, maybe worth then. But that's not the case. Either way, whichever you choose, there are challenge. There is difficult. We cannot escape from difficulties as long as we take this form, this impure form. That's unfortunately of impure form. That's the unfortunate of taking this conscious, this impure form. If anyone doesn't want to experience even this challenge, then this conscious should not take this wrong form, should take some pure form. Then even those difficulties you may not need to face. But as long as this conscious with the mundane conscious or with the bodhicitta conscious, but as long as this conscious takes this impure form, challenge is there, difficulties is there. If both has a challenge and difficulties, then what's different? The difference is one is worth and another is worthless. That's different. And one is the cause of happiness. One's difficulty is cause of happiness, and another difficulty is cause of difficulties. That's different. Training is spiritual and practicing Dharma. Yes, we are gathering cause of happiness, not necessarily immediately bring us happy and free and everything. It depends on an individual's habits and patterns. There's no certain. If you train spiritual, like 1 month, you will going to be okay. 1 month you need to take difficulties, and after 1 month you will going to be free. That's not that. There's no boundary for that, for it. It's completely depend on an individual's capabilities, competence. Anyway, so the third method here, that what Shantideva letting us contemplate upon the force of craving wealth, is that through this craving towards wealth, what we really gain, the little itself, is what you call sure to perish. That's unfortunately, right? We work so hard to gain this little gain, and then this little gain is also not staying with me. I worked so hard and so sacrificed myself to gain this little thing. And then now this little thing's trying to walk away from me. What am I doing? Am I not really foolish? Am I not really stupid? So that's what Shantideva wants us to contemplate upon its fault. Yes, the answer is stupid, foolish. Sacrificing so much and working so hard and putting great effort to gain this little gain, which is again trying to walk away. Yes, sooner or later, it will going to be walk away for sure. Not just walk away, it is saying perish, sure to perish from its root, right? Completely. So that's the fault of craving towards wealth. If we do not crave the wealth, even it goes, it doesn't disturb much. Okay, let it go. If these things want to run away, run away. So what? So what? Okay, walk away. No problem. We are being failed. How to say? We are failed to able to say this. Okay, walk away. Let it go be. Because of craving towards that thing, craving towards that wealth. If we remove this craving towards that thing and towards that wealth, okay, then if that things wants to run away, let run away. Let it be. It's easy to say. Not just easy to say, but also easy to think too. We are holding so strongly, grasping so hard because of the craving. So again here, craving or desire becomes the binder. If you remove this binder, it becomes loose. When it becomes loose, if it is goes. Doesn't matter. If it is comes. Very free. Free of kind of like a free of mind, free mind. You see, that's the third fault. And then on the other hand, also the faults is that also another fault is Shantideva, what he wants us to contemplate is that the effort, the difficulties that which we took it for, which we accept it for, it's creating another additional problem. Nothing else. That's the also another fault of craving towards wealth. Together, same here, right? This little gain is going to be sure to perish. At the same time, for this little gain, what we put so much effort, it's worthless. That's the fault of craving towards wealth. So think all this. Be rational oneself. And then lay it low, our attachment or desire or craving towards wealth, money, property, whatsoever. Again, I'm reminding you here, it does not mean that you cannot improve yourself. And then the next one is the fault of craving towards wealth is given by metaphor or the example, which is a little bit easy. Nyalso dongal samchena deba namla chöndani tukdang medang yangzadang dranam ki jang permi pös. Reflect upon the pain of hell and other evil states. Weapons, fires, and poisons. Yawning chasms, yawning chasms, hostile foes. None is on a level with our cravings. That's simple, right? Normally, we scared poison. We scared by burning by fire. We wanna keep ourselves distance from heat, fire, right? And we also is scared the clip, isn't it? Clips. What they say? Yearning chasm. That's the clips. Yearning chasms. And then normally we feel very uncomfortable encountering with such a person who we dislike, right? And especially in a war, if you encounter with your enemy with the full of weapon. So terrible, isn't it? These are all very terrible. But the craving, we are unable to feel terrified. Actually, what Shantideva was saying is that the fact, the craving, the desire or attachment, emotion, what you have is actually more scareful than these, which normally you scared. You see, now that's why they are saying like our biggest enemy we always carrying within oneself. These outer foes, weapons, fires, and clips is even not really worth to use a example that how much disturbance and how much destroying creates by our craving towards oneself. So that's how Shantideva wants us to contemplate upon its fault, the faults of craving towards wealth. So with this, now concluded the short in brief. You can look back to the stanza 4. Now until here, it is describing all this stanza 4, fourth stanzas meaning, elaborating. Let's look back to the stanza 4, what it says. Penetrative insight joined with the calm abiding utterly eradicates afflicted states. Knowing this, first search for calm abiding, found by people who are happy to be free from worldly ties. That's how one should make happy to be free from worldly tie. You see, now this is the how until now, this until stanza 84, Shantideva describing how to make it oneself free from worldly ties. What worldly means, right? In short, worldly means not being let it go, the family members, relatives, friends, and outerly the wealth, reputation, fame. And then the most biggest problem, the partner, the gender problem. That's what it means, the worldly tie. Now, as soon as when we're saying worldly tie, these are the three things. If we are able to pop up in our mind, we understood what's the worldly tie. If we are able to let it go, these three things, we are able to let it go, the worldly tie, which means we are being free of worldly tie. Therefore, Nagarjuna said, the person who have a less worldly tie means less craving towards these three objects, right? Less craving towards these three objects. Nagarjuna said, the person who are less craving towards worldly tie are the class of Arahat. Now means oneself getting close to Arahat. We are kind of like entering into the Arahat's gate. So you see, really whether our spiritual training is progressing or not, to check this now. We don't need to ask anybody now. After studying and understanding all this, whether my training, spiritual training, is progressing or not, to check oneself. Am I able to let go of my partner? Am I able to let go of my reputation, my wealth, my fame? Am I let go about my family members? If oneself feeling okay, even though it is a little difficult, but I could manage myself, then we are entering into the gate of Arahat. If we completely eradicate all this emotion, that's the Arahat. Arahat is nothing other than this. Araha. Normally, Araha, we look so high. It's not like that. It is just this. If oneself is able to remove all this emotion, there you go. You are Arahat. If your all these emotions are very less, you are almost there. If your all these emotions are very normal, you are still in worldly tie. No matter what way you form, no matter whether you wear robe or whether you wear the pants and suits, whether you wear the very gentleman suit, looks very professional, or look very professor, look very professional and professor, even look very professor, very well educated. Yeah, very well educated. Even you look very well educated, doesn't matter. As long as you fail to this, you are just ordinary. Doesn't matter outlook, how much it looks better. Regardless whether you are monk, regardless whether you are PhD, regardless you are president, regardless you are whatsoever, you are ordinary. In short, ordinary. This is the bottom line, ordinary. If oneself able to lay it low this, little bit less, again, regardless whether monk, nun, or lay, president, or whosoever, already enter into the gate of Arahat. And then if you are completely eradicated all this, perished all this, let's say, perish all this, just use that word, perish all this emotion and craving, desire, emotion, then regardless whether you are monk or nun, or president or PhD, or just a poor beggar walking on the street begging, doesn't matter. You are Arhat. That's it. That's the definition of Arhat. Nothing else. Arhat cannot judge by outlook. So that's what Nagarjuna said. How to differentiate, how to know oneself, whether I am Arahat yet or not, whether I am already entered into the gate of Arahat or not, whether I am normal, ordinary or not. That's how one check. One can understand oneself very obvious than anybody else. Very clear than anybody else, isn't it? So, okay, so this now conclude that Shantideva. So how to make it oneself from the free of worldly tie. So the worldly tie is the biggest contrary for meditative concentration, right? So the now until here, Shantideva elaborating, introducing what is the exact known as a contrary for meditative concentration. And this is what, till now, this is what it is exactly known as a contrary for meditative concentration. So if one wants to develop meditative concentration, must train this. Without being able to make oneself free of worldly tie, and then hoping to accomplish the meditation, it's something not matching. What you're wishing and what you're doing is contradicting then. If you wish to achieve the meditative concentration, accomplish the meditation, then what I have to do is to lay it low and eventually eradicate this emotion in general, particularly the desire towards these three objects. Right? First, family member, relatives. Second, the wealth, reputation, fames. Third, partner, the gender attachment, right? Can I say that? Gender attachment. It makes sense? Gender attachment. And then, now from here, it's talking about the quality of solitude. So now Shantideva wants us to understand contemplate the quality of solitude from here. This is stanza 85 to 88. Those four stanza talks about the quality of solitude. How Shantideva talking? The quality of solitude is Tetar dela kyoshete wembala ni gawakes. Zedang nyumon ki tomba shiwi nang ki nang daktu kalden dawe zenden gisilwi yangbi dolep khangsang nyamgawar drame shiwi naglung yowayi shenla penden semshin chagbarshes. This two stanza goes together. So, revolted by our lust and wanting, the craving towards all these three objects, right? Let us now rejoice in solitude. In solitude, naturally, all these emotions can be settled down, right? Settle down. Such a place, empty of all conflict and defilement, the peace and stillness of the forest. Happy those intent on others' good, who roam in pleasant places formed of massive stone, refreshed by moonlight's sandal-scented beams, by gentle woodland breezed sooth. That's the nature of solitude. The nature of solitude is the quality of solitude. That's not so difficult to understand, right? And likewise also, Kangdong Xingzhong Pugdado, Kangdu Jisi de Neshing, Yongzin Songwe Dungalpang, Teba Mebar Payang Jus. Rawan Jujin Changmela, Kandayang in Delmeba, Choshi Deju Kayimba, Wambu Janineba, Dinyekas. Then another one. Both two stanza can go together. In caves, beneath the trees, in house left abandoned, any of one, okay? It's talking about any of one. In caves, or beneath the trees, or in a house left abandoned. May we linger long as we might wish. Is it? Linger. What is linger? Stay. May we stay long as we might wish, relinquishing the pain of guarding our possession. Yes, no need to guard anything there, because none of these are yours from the beginning. Maybe again we make mistake. If someone else show up, then you may say, this is my cave. This is my tree. Don't say that. You should let go from here. You should go out and find something else, somewhere else, the cave or trees or abandoned, left over, house left abandoned. Let us live in a freedom unconfined by cares, right? To have such a liberty unmarred by craving, loosed from every bond and ties. A life of such contentment and such a pleasure. You see, this is right now, we do not have experience. Therefore, when we heard all this, we doubt. Is it really? Can I achieve that just simply by going in there? Now, this is something approved by those people who had already experienced it. People like himself, Shantideva here. And then many other great masters in the past. Even today, present, they advising this, right? But still, we have to be very practical here. Very few people able to do this. Very few people. Even person who really wants to practice this spiritual are unable to do this. In a practical level, the people who really able to apply this, implement this, it's even rare than the person who have interested in spiritual training. Generally, the person who have interest in spiritual training, it's rare. It's very rare in the world. And then among this rare, the person who are really able to implement this advice is even more rare. Even more rare within this rare. Huh? Rarer still. Yeah, this is something now approved by all those peoples that who had experience. And maybe we can also gain experience by ourselves by going. But always we need to train that all above whatever Shantideva mentioned. Without training all this above and then going to the solitude, you will come back after 1 month. Even those retreat that what we have facilitated, it's not really 1 or 2 people, it's like 100 people, but it's still some people get bored. If so, if that person needs to stay themselves 1 week, oh, even I know some person, even with the 100 people in our retreat, every year we held this summer retreat. Some people feel bored after 1 week or after 2 weeks. Actually, in this retreat, all facility is provided. You don't have to worry about instruction. You don't have to worry about teachings. Don't have to worry about guidelines. You don't have to worry about chanting. You don't have to worry about where to go and what to do. All instructed. Still get bored. Even within 100 people. And then being alone goes without saying. This is all because we are lacking the all above training. What Shantideva trained us until this stanza 84. That proving, that sign clearly showing you have training, lacking training how to appreciate in being in a solitude. And people who are boring staying in a solitude must train this first to let go these 3 things. The doesn't matter whatever reason you put, all can boil down into these 3 reasons. Either of one or two or all of these 3. Therefore, you feel bored. Right? There's a no more than these 3 reasons. If oneself get bored, if we really look oneself, either I feel bored because of wealth, reputation, fame, or I get bored because of my remembering my family member, friends, relatives, or I feel bored because of I missing my partner. No any other reason. So that's how actually now the naturally quality of the solitude, that a life of such contentment and such pleasure, even Indra would be pressed to find. You see, how wonderful example here given by Shantideva here. What does it mean? Why he is using here Indra? Because Indra have all these 3 things. He is very rich in these 3 things. There is nobody in this universe richer than him and owning these 3 things. Therefore, Shantideva using the Indra. Even the Indra would be pressed to find. One should understand, if I am able to do this, I am the more happier person than the Indra. Is it? So yeah, understand the quality of solitude in this way. And then appreciate rather than feeling bored. Feel joy rather than feeling sad. Feel find rather than feeling loss. Say, I found it myself, rather than saying, I lose myself. I'm lost. I get lost. Yeah, I made some. They sing at the end, I get lost. Now I don't know who am I. Say, I find it rather than loss. Say, I'm happy rather than sad. Say, I appreciated myself rather than what? I forgot that word. Huh? No, loss. Loss already is. Rather than bored. Rather than bored. You see? And then next, now from here, this is stanza 89. And then now Shantideva actually began how to develop the meditative concentration now. After preparing all this, now what to do? How to develop my meditative concentrations? And based on what training? Then Shantideva introducing, okay. So after train well, all this preparation, then you need to do this practice, this training, which is Tela sobi nambai wembi yunden samshene namto nyewar shiwatang changchup semni gumbarsha. Reflecting in such a ways as this upon the excellence of solitude, right? Pacify completely all discursiveness. Discursiveness. Just understand. So what does it mean? Reflecting in such a ways as this upon the excellence of solitude. Right? That outer crowdness, inner distractions, understanding all its faults and its entity, its nature. And then the benefit of not having all those crowdness and distractions and its faults. The quality of solitude. By training this way can help us, help oneself to pacify completely all discursiveness. That's the first training we need to train. You see now, this is just one simple word, but really make it applicable, this pacifying completely all discursiveness. And we need to do all above training, isn't it? So this accomplishment could achieve by implementing all above training from first stanza till now, this 88 stanza. And all this training is need to do not just with the understanding, but with the meditation, with the experience, analytical meditation. And when we do all this, first understand and then meditate analytical meditation, and then experience it. When we experience this all guideline properly, then one could achieve this achievement, which is pacify completely all discursiveness. So here, Shantideva showing all the steps very detailedly in order to develop a meditative concentration. We need to train first this. Without training this, just entering direct into meditation will not going to help us to develop the concentration. So if one really wants to develop meditative concentration, first one must train to lay it low and eradicate this emotion, particularly the desire, clinging towards these three objects. When someone able to train to lay it low or eradicate this particular general emotion, particularly this clinging or the attachment emotion towards these three objects, then it can bring us to the middle, which is pacify completely all discursiveness. This training can bring us in the middle. And then from this middle, then we can jump into the right. Do not try to jump from here to direct to this. Okay, I want to meditate. Meditate. Yeah, still benefit, maybe bring us some calmness, but not the really, what really supposed to achieve through our meditation will never going to achieve without stepping on this too. So this is order, steps. And then when oneself is getting into this middle, then from here move to the meditation. Then try to develop meditative concentration. But here now, and then what Shantideva really advising then, and cultivate the mind of Bodhisattva. You see, and after that means after that. And then cultivate the mind of Bodhisattva or meditate upon Bodhisattva. Try to develop your Bodhisattva then now. So it is mentioning very clear order here. In order to develop our Mahayana spiritual or Bodhisattva, we need to develop meditative concentration. In order to develop meditative concentration, first we need to understand its all its contraries and subjugate all of them, and then come to the middle to understand the quality of solitude and pacify the completely all discursiveness. And then after, then meditate the Bodhisattva. And this is what we should do. That's how the order, diligently. Then we can say that after that, and one should diligently meditate and try to improve the Bodhisattva. Right? That's very short now, this one stanza. So after all this training, achievement, then now should begin to meditate developed your bodhicitta. And then the next stanza is another one short, the brief instruction about, okay, so in this scripture, Shantideva, he said, after that, and cultivate the mind of bodhicitta. So the now question arising, how to cultivate mind of bodhicitta? Then in this scripture, guiding is how to cultivate the bodhicitta is based on a what do you call it? Meditating the equalness of self and others, and then the meditating upon, how to say, changing self and others. That's how one should cultivate the mind of bodhicitta now. According to this scripture, this Shantideva, this scripture, way of Bodhisattva's life, how to cultivate the mind of bodhicitta. How to cultivate the mind of, he said, cultivate the mind of bodhicitta, and then, right? And cultivate the mind of bodhicitta. Now, this is it. This is the all purpose of this whole book, actually, whole scripture. Okay, now tell me how. And then, yeah, generally in different scriptures, different shastras, different scriptures has a different technique to cultivate the bodhicitta. But according to this way of Bodhisattva's life by Shantideva, his way of cultivating bodhicitta is mainly this two technique. The first technique is to meditating upon equalness, self and others. And then the second method is the meditating upon, how to say, meditating upon exchanging self and others. This is the two main method or the skills that tell us how to cultivate the bodhicitta. Right? And then here, this stanza, that 90 stanza, is talking about the brief, short, how to meditate, how to cultivate bodhicitta through meditating upon equalness, the self and others, right? Equalness of self and others. So how to meditate the equalness of self and others in brief, in short, he will going to elaborate after this stanza. This 90 stanza is very brief, short. Maybe to the some people, this instruction is enough to just to understand, okay, this is it. And some, maybe this is not enough, then needs to go elaborate. Just like that, just like before, right? Stanza 4 is actually brief, short. Some people, this when he said free from worldly tie, that's enough. Okay, they understood. Okay, what does it mean? And then people like me who doesn't understand what does it mean, the free from worldly tie, and then he have to elaborate. Free from worldly tie means you need to free yourself attaching from your friends, relatives, families, blah 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 blah. And then free yourself attaching towards your wealth, reputation, fame, blah 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 blah. And then free yourself worldly tie means free yourself attaching from your partners, blah 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 blah. That's what it means, free from earthly tie. People like me who doesn't understand the short instruction, then needed this elaboration. If people who are sharp faculties, they don't need this elaboration so much. This brief instruction is enough for them. So here now again, what is the brief instruction? The first, this is most of the scripture does this. First they introduce the very brief instruction to see whether you understand or not. If not, then go elaborate. So how to cultivate bodhicitta? Through these two methods. Among these two methods, the first method is to meditating upon equalness of self and others. And how to meditate the equalness of self and others? In short, brief, this is stanza, the 90th stanza, which is saying, Dadan shendo nyambani thangpo du bede goms. Dedan dungal nyambe na tamje dashing sungwar shas. Strive at first to meditate upon the sameness of yourself and others. Sameness of oneself and others, right? This English always yours, 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 yours. They don't want to see self. And this is the most of the English translation books. Your. Even the meditation part, like this Pova practice which we did, you meditate Avalokiteshvara. That person who's saying seems like he or she does not need to meditate that. You need to meditate Avalokiteshvara yourself. The fact in Tibetan there's a no you much, as in this English translation. Somehow this is because of the language. I think they have no choice rather than needs to put. Otherwise, it doesn't make really sense. But related with here, I think they can translate like upon the sameness of oneself and others, right? Not necessarily yourself and others.
Oneself,
others.
Yourself is the same.
Same.
It has the same, depending where it is.
And the yourself. Yourself. If I say oneself, then maybe better a little bit. Dadan Shendu Nyambani. Here in Tibetan, Da is me, self. Shen is other. Self and other. Nyam is equal. Sameness.
In this, it's like somebody else is the third person speaking.
Yeah, that's right.
That's why since the
third person is talking. Strive at first to meditate upon the sameness of yourself and others. So now you see, in order to this is saying like in order to develop or to cultivate the mind of bodhicitta perfectly within oneself, first we need to able to meditate upon sameness of oneself and others. This is in order to cultivate the mind in bodhicitta, this is how you should do. Without having that sense of sameness and developing bodhicitta, forget it. So now Shantideva actual introduction here, how to cultivate bodhicitta. Okay, if you are interested into cultivating bodhicitta, then first you should train yourself to able to have this sense of sameness, oneself and others. That is something, first step in order to cultivate bodhicitta, in order to reach to that destiny. This is something you should train. Why? And then Shandadeva giving this reason. Because dedan dungal nyambena tamje dashin suwanja. Because of dedan dungal nyambena. It's this third line. Because in joy and sorrow, all are equal. That's why. Because how I am cherishing to gain pleasant and pleasure, and how much I am eager to remove my difficulties and challenges and suffering. What I wish, the same every other being is equally wishing that. That's why you need to train first to have a sense of sameness, oneself and others. This is it. That's why. How you do not wish, same way no one do not wish. How you wish for, same way everyone wish for. So we are equal. That's what I'm talking about, the sameness. So therefore, how thus oneself be guardian of all, thus be guardian of all, as of oneself, as of yourself. Third party talking again. As of myself. As of myself. It's better myself using, right? As of myself. Yourself, same, I think. As of myself. Thus be guardian of all others as of myself. Right? Guy? Thus be guardian of all as of yourself. Is it enough instruction to train oneself to have a sense of sameness, the self and others? If this is enough, then we can skip next stanzas and so on a little bit further down. So from next stanza onward until some sudden stanza, it's all elaborating about this, how to do this. And people who have a suspicious and question that how can I really do this? And he is answering to those in an elaborate, who needs elaborate reason. Actually, this is very simple reason, isn't it? This is it. That's why you need to protect others, as same way as you do yourself. Because others are also same as what you wish. That's it. Okay, so we may stop here. So after Shantideva, till now, most of the time, Shantideva saying, not don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. Now he's begin to saying, this is what you do it. Do it, do it, do it. Now from here, everything is do it, do it, do it. Till now, do not attach. You should remove your attach. Now from here, cultivate, cultivate, cultivate. Okay, so we'll dedicate now. Sönam de tamje zigba nyi, topne nye be danam pamje ne, shega na chi wala trubai, sibin zole ndrowa ndrovarashu, jambal pawe jidara kemba da, kundu zambu te yan te shen te, te da kunji jesu nda lochi, gewan de da tamje rabdu ngo, gewan de yeshe ukun, Sönam yeshe tsozo ne, sönam yeshe le jungwe, tamba kunyin tobarasho, sanje kusum nyebe chinlabda, chunye menjur dembe chinlabda, gendun meche dembe chinlabji, jedara ngowa melam dubarsho. By this beneficial activity, may I obtain omniscience, and having vanquished the harmful enemies, greed, anger, delusion, may I liberate all being tossed about helplessly by the waves of birth, aging, illness, and death in the ocean of becoming. By conforming to the knowledge of courageous Manjushri, Jambalyang, and in the same way as Samandabhadra, Kundusambhu, and following their example, I dedicate perfectly all this virtue. By this virtue, may all being perfectly achieve the accumulation of merit, Swanam, and wisdom, Yeshe, and may they thereafter obtain the two holy bodies which result from these two accumulation. By the blessing of the Buddha, Sanjay, who obtained the three bodies, by the blessing of the immutable truth of the Dharmada, Chönyi, by the blessing of the infallible aspiration of the Sangha, Gendun, may this prayer of dedication be accomplished just as it is. Thank you. Have a good day.